Shirt's a little tight. Found this from 18 years ago in a bin of stuff. How much more do you weigh than 18 years ago? I'm about 30 pounds heavier, and it is a little more obvious after putting this one on. So this shirt is from 2006. This was the very first shirts that I had made for Holmes Hobbies. As you can see, the logo is the original logo. It does not have Holmes Hobbies inside the logo. That was changed in 2012 after I realized that all the different sponsorships and things that we were doing, they would always chop off the Holmes Hobbies and they would just leave the logo. And of course, people that go to the events know who the logo is, but if you're an outsider looking in, you have no clue what this means. So later on, we added the gear and the Holmes Hobbies emblazoned into the logo itself, so that no matter what an event decided to do with the shirts, that they would at least have my name on my own logo, because every time it seemed they would chop this off. And you will see here in this stack of shirts what I'm talking about, because I found a lot of shirts from the past. This here is the first RC Crawler National shirts from 2006. USRCCA Nationals, first annual. Boom. This guy is a blast from the past and is definitely stained from all the dust in Moab. It's kind of funny looking through these. Oh, I'll have to keep all these the same way for you for the camera. Now, let's look at the back. The most interesting thing about going through all these old shirts for me is looking at all of the companies that are really no longer around anymore. So let's see, we got the original rccrawler.com, which they're still active. It's still a forum. Here's the old Holmes Hobbies logo. Hey, who is it? We don't know. Utah RCRC. They're probably still around, but more than likely the URL for their own forum is gone. RCF, Radio Control Fabrication, maybe they're still around. RC Fab, I don't know. RC Guy, maybe he's still around. I haven't heard anything from RC Guy, but if I remember correctly, he was also running a eBay store, so maybe he's still around on eBay. The Crawler Store, TCS, I think they may have shut down a few years ago. Bender Customs, he's no longer doing it. Airtronics, they're still a company. They're not really involved in crawling anymore. Novak, gone. HPI Racing, they have changed hands quite a few times, and I don't know if they're technically still around. It's kind of in the air. Y'all are going to have to help me out on HPI here. RCP Crawlers, they are still around. They did change hands. Crawford Performance Engineering, I don't know if CPE is actually still around anymore. JPS Products, nope, don't think so. High Tech, they're still around. Free Time Hobbies, I don't know. We'd have to check that one out. I haven't heard anything from them in a long time. Let's see. Trinity, I think Trinity recently shut down, didn't they? I don't think they're doing anything anymore. That was kind of sad to hear. RCRockGear.com, haven't heard anything out of them. Montana Scale Designs, gone. BNC Customs, haven't even heard of them since this year. RC Driver, technically they shut down and they have restarted mostly through a YouTube channel, but they came and they went, and now they're back. Kinda different people though. To me, I mean, they're still around. Cold Quick Customs, nope, it's not still around. And Kyosho, they're still around. Not doing anything in the rock crawling world, but they're still around. Blast from the past. Unfortunately, the majority of companies are no longer involved in crawling that started the actual crawling, which is kind of sad. But at the same time, that's, I guess, the way of the world. Let's see what else we have down here. Oh, this was the year that I took over from USRCCA. I renamed it RC Orva because at the time we were a worldwide organization, but there was not representation worldwide yet. But I wanted to represent RC Off-Road Vehicle Association, I believe is what I wanted to do. And that didn't stick around. This was 2015. We did it in Las Vegas. And essentially, I kept the organization for a year or two, maybe a few years, and then I sold it off. Not really, it was more of a loss to people who were more involved and wanted to be involved in the rules. So now it is, I honestly forget what they renamed themselves in the moment. Sorry about that. But the same Crawler Association is still around. As you can see, the logo that has our name in it. Odd 6 is still around, Recon G6 is still around, Castle's still around. CKRC, they got bought and sold. I'm not sure if they're still around. Hey, RCP again, they're still around. Pitbull, hey, they're still around. RC4WD, they're still around for sure. Fifth Dimension, he still is doing some stuff here and there. Lattice Innovations, yeah, you know, somewhat. K&K is still around. RC Bros, he stopped his company and has restarted a YouTube channel that is more informational than anything else. So, you know, of course, this isn't nearly as old, but most of these companies are actually still around. So, kind of good to see that. I really liked the design this year. For this year, it was neat. That was a fun event to host. Also, let me know that I wasn't the best person for the job, but that's all right. The association didn't die off. That's mostly what I wanted to make sure, is that from a lack of management, that the association didn't die off. Second annual Nationals, USRCCA Nationals. Rock Crawler Nationals, there you go. Moab, Utah again. We did the Nationals 3 years in a row in Utah. The HPI Racing Nationals. So this was the Wheelie King that Jason in Augusta, or Gia as we called him, he remade, brazed up a chassis, made the Crawler King, a really cool crawler that he might even still have around. But back in the day, you still had to build all your crawlers. This was before ready to runs came out. There was definitely no ready to run comp regs. You would have to take a kit and then add all sorts of different things to it. So we'll probably see a lot of the same companies here. Again, Holmes Hobbies, that you don't see who it is. They did the same to Axial. Oh no, never mind. There's Axial. Boom, real big. It's kind of funny that it is the HPI Racing one and the biggest logo is Axial. Double J Products, I don't think they're around. Rain, they're no longer around. Can't read this upside down. Taylor's Hobby Products, never even heard of them. BMRC, I don't know if they're still around. TCS, gone. Montana Scale Designs, gone. Rock Works, I don't think they're still around. CKRC, bought and sold, not sure if they're still around. Tammy's Hobbies, they might still be a hobby shop up in Oregon, maybe. Was it Oregon? I think it was Oregon, maybe Washington. We could look. Finish Line, they're still around. Finish Line RC? Finish Line RC? Who's that logo is just out in the middle of nowhere. And RCP, yes, we have talked about them already. Kind of a bass, a bass from the pass is what this is. What was that bass up on the wall that used to talk? You'd sing you songs and stuff.
Big Mouth Billy Bass.
Big Mouth Billy Bass. Yes. Talk about a bass from the pass. Oh, gotta show y'all this one. All right, if you went to the 2007 Nationals in Utah, then you would remember Wheelchair. So we had these shirts made. It's kind of an aside. I don't remember who actually did it, but I ended up getting a whole bag of them. I am Wheelchair, kick my ass. As a person who has no clue what this means, I have gotten some really funny looks in the shirt and a lot of weird comments from people. It's so Wheelchair was a kid who essentially claimed that he started RC crawling and that he knew everything about RC crawling at the time. You know how kids are. Just like me, when I started the company, it was like, yeah, sure, I can build motors. Like, what's hard about building motors? Not knowing the depth of building motors. It's like, you know, when you start a new hobby and you think that you know everything, and then the more that you learn, the more that you realize you really don't know anything. And then as you actually increase your knowledge, you still think you don't know anything, but your knowledge is, you know, way above where you started. You know, it could be a linear line like this, but you still think that you don't know anything. Well, this guy was young enough that he knew everything. And when we went out crawling this year afterwards, he garage sailed his truck, all the things in the bed. He was going through the hot tub there in Utah on, which trail is it? Yeah, it doesn't matter what trail it's on. If you know Utah, you know what the hot tub is. He was wheeling with no roll cage. His baby was in, his wife was in the car in his old, I don't think it was a Tacoma. I think it was a pickup, a Toyota pickup, like a, 95-ish sort of one. At any rate, he shouldn't have really been out on the trails, especially with his baby in the car and nothing strapped down. He totally yard sailed. I wish I had the original photo from that. I've lost it over time, but there's a good action shot that Jason in Augusta, who was working for a magazine at the time, he got a really good shot of all the stuff falling out of the back of his truck. He fortunately didn't get into any big trouble, but really brings back some memories of that year. Boy, there was a lot of trouble. There was a lot of trouble. And it was mostly because guys like me were troublemakers, but I kind of stayed out of most of the trouble that year. All right, back to more shirts. The TCS East Coast Championship from 2008. This was probably held down, let's see, East Coast Rocks. This was going to be either in the Whitewater Center in, is that Tennessee, or this would have been in Alabama. I think we were still hosting in Tennessee at the time. Yes, the Ocoee Whitewater Center, Copper Hill, Tennessee. It even says it. How nice of them to actually put that on the shirt. Really cool place. Also a place where you have to get permits to run. And this year they got permits, but there was one year where the person running it didn't get permits. Everybody got kicked out. It was kind of a bummer. So I hear. I didn't go that year. Let's see. Once again, let's look through our list of vendors here. 2008, we've got a little bit of bigger names here. Axial, rccrawler.com, Max Amps, they're still around. RCP, you know how that one goes. Critter Racing, never heard of them. Panther, Panther tires are, I think still around. Somebody with, it looks like a non-vector logo that I can't even read. RC4WD. Who do we got here? Sin City RC. They are not still around, but that was a forum from in Las Vegas area. It's just a group of crawlers. They would travel for these events. JB Customs. Nope. What is this for? NW Track Tech. I don't know. It's a .com. I guess we could see if it's still there. Team Raceway.com. Maybe I never heard of them. I've never heard of so many of these companies at this point. I can't even read what this logo is. Sorry. hey, CKRC and Holmes Hobbies. There you go. Another logo without my name in it. All right. Mayhem. Don't know anything about them being around still. I believe they made wheels. I can't even read that. See, this is the problem with logos over time, is if you can't read it, then how do you know what's going on? Let me try to Rocksmith. Okay, I think it reads TIT. Rocksmith Engineering. Airtech's gone. Stole a bunch of money from people, taking pre-orders for some stuff. BMRC, what is that? Blue Monkey RC or something like that. I don't know if they're still around. VF. That company is technically gone. I forget what that stood for, but at any rate, that company's gone. It got restarted to something else, and then that company was gone and got restarted to something else. Blah blah blah. Kamikaze Customs. He is no longer around. TeamRaceway.com. Is that on there twice? Okay, whoever did the shirt wasn't paying attention. Very nice blast from the past. All right, I'm going to grab one more shirt here. Just a random one out of the stack. I've got a whole stack of multiple bins of these. All right, let's see. Hey, this will be a good one, maybe. Oh, okay, two more. I lied. Two more shirts. We'll grab two more shirts. All right. Vanquish presents Rojo Red Rocks. This was the third year, which I think was the final year of it. Does it say what year this was? No, it does not. I don't think. July 15th. All right, so in Red Rocks, Colorado, there is the amphitheater, and then there is a little school to the left-hand side, and there's a lot of crawling and just general cool areas around there. And they would pull permits, the locals would, the people who ran rccrawler.com, they would pull permits and have really, really cool events at Red Rocks, just off to the side of the amphitheater. And I wish that they could still do that sort of stuff, but it got really hard to pull permits, and you get, a lot of people on the rocks and people complaining about how you're digging out the rocks with these, 4-pound vehicles. But, oh, you can have mountain bikes out there and electric bikes and everything. But I guess RC crawlers are no longer wanted. But really cool designs on these shirts. I've got them from all the years, and really fun events. These were really, really cool events. I always like to go out there. I think I only made it out to 2 of them, but it was still really cool. So sponsored by Vanquish, and of course RC Crawler, your #1 RC rock crawling source, back when it was a lot easier to get Google rankings on things. Again, who's this company? I don't know. That's me, Huts Holmes Hobbies. Oh, but there are more companies that are maybe still around here. Hey, Pitbull's still here. Teakin's still here. Of course, Holmes Hobbies is still here. Axial is still here. TCS, no, sorry. Novak, oh, sorry. Maybe I spoke too soon. Coldpar Hobbies, I don't know if they are, but they are located out, or were located out in Colorado there. RC Driver, come and gone, they're back again. RC for Nobody, they're still around. R2J Customs, nope, don't think so. RCShortcourse.com, another forum that was run by the people who ran RCCrawler.com. I don't think it's still around anymore. Maybe it's still, check it out, RCShortcourse.com. Maybe there are still some short course forums. Maybe there are. Man, y'all need to tell me in the comments about all of these things, if you remember them, or maybe you have some stories yourselves. Y'all share your stories. I bet y'all got some wild stories from events just like I do that I'm not going to tell you about. All right, so in the middle of all of this USRCCA non-scale stuff, there was also the scale side of things, Sorka, that started up, and then we had the scale nationals, and a lot of times MSD would sponsor them in the early days, then Axial kind of took over. This was in Helena Falls, or Helena, Montana, yes, because MSD was in Montana at the time. Then they moved a lot of the scale stuff up into like the Washington and Oregon area. I've got some of these around here as well. Always a good time. I didn't really make it to the scale stuff in the early days, but got into it later in the days. And you can tell the Axial Wraith, the original one, the 2.2 size, had come out by this period in time. Oh, no, that's, here we go. One of these. So by this period in 2011, we were starting to actually get scale rigs. This was one of the very first. Now, if we ignore RC4WD stuff that was scale, but you really couldn't crawl with because they'd break, which is still kind of the case, we're gonna ignore that stuff. And this was really when scale vehicles started coming out. Now, is that like super duper duper scale? Yeah, it's a little off, but it looks a lot better. And if we compare it to the 1.9 that came out, I mean, you can kind of see how it looks like there's clown shoes on this thing on the original 2.2, and then they re-released it down the road because they still had the rights to it here for the 1.9. So yeah, but this was really the start to our industry becoming more scale oriented and less performance based. And in my opinion, it really changed things for the better, because people might want to buy something like that. They may not want to buy a rig that looks like this. It's not as cool looking in a lot of ways. It really isn't. But that departure from the ultra performance, if you will, let's see, do I have any other ultra performance rigs? No, not really. Yeah, we'll ignore that for later. It was really when the market started to catch on. And now, of course, we have scale rigs that are ultra performance. We've got, just as an example, the Vanquish VRD. Now you can throw a scale body on top, but it has extremely good performance, and it also does fall into the Sorka rules, the scale RC crawler rules. But let's get to this final looky-loo. Look at all these sponsors. There's a lot on here. And I'm gonna spare you going through each individual one, but suffice it to say the majority of these companies are no longer around, but some that still are. Oh, hey look, Holmes Hobbies. You can't even read that. Oh, it's too small. This was before 2012 when I changed the logo, of course. Vanquish is still around. Yeah, there's Vanquish on there. Hand Brothers, they're gone. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm doing it anyway, aren't I? Yeah, I see a lot of companies that are still not around, but hey, Cow RC, they're still around. Tekin, of course, they're still around. Holmes Hobbies, still around. HRP, I think HRP is still a distributor. I do believe, but gone. Not around. Oh, that one's around. Gone. MIP's still around. They're gone. Can't even read that. C'est la vie. But these events were, in a lot of ways, what ended up changing the market, these scale nationals. And always fun to be a part of them. Now, there wasn't really as much mayhem at the scale events. I feel like, I shouldn't say a more mature crowd, but a crowd that was there more for the super nerd scale aspect and not as much of the starting crap with people aspect. Now, still plenty of shenanigans, because a lot of the people that did this also did the regular style competing with rigs that didn't look scale, but different group of people, maybe just not quite as not as mischievous in a lot of ways. And they also felt like they needed to be good representations of the sport, I believe. And so it ended up changing from being kind of that like, hey, let's party sort of crowd, to being more of a like, hey, we've got some serious sponsors, we've got big manufacturers that are starting to look into this, so we should be not necessarily on our best behavior, but like, hey, the heavy drinking and smoking, maybe keep that away from the actual events. So, and now we've got such a plethora of vehicles, and the competition scene isn't, well, it's not quite what it used to be as far as size, but again, it is still pretty big because the entire industry has bloomed and blossomed. And even if it's only like 1% of people that are competing now, instead of being like back then in the early days, a huge majority of people who were into the crawling would go compete. But now that we have 100-fold more people that are involved, even if it's just 1% competing, it's still a pretty big crowd. So at any rate, I just thought I would share a little blast from the past on those and show you how much I've grown over the years. I'm still a growing boy, I guess. I feel like maybe I should try to lose a couple of pounds, but hey, this is not even an extra medium. This is somewhere between a small and a medium, so maybe I should just wear a larger shirt. But as you can see, we were bright back in the day, and we're still here, so everything's all right. As always, do appreciate you tuning in. If you do have any stories from the past, please share them down below. Even if it's only this past year, some events that you went to that you really liked, I want you to share them with me, because I'm always looking out for events. Maybe sometimes I can go, and I'd love to hear from you. What do you love to go to these days? As always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. You've made it to the end of the video. Hopefully that means you liked what you saw. If you want to help out the channel, you can like, subscribe, and definitely comment down below. We would like to hear new ideas from you, so be sure you let us know what you'd like to see. There are some other suggestions probably floating by my head right now that you can check out, and otherwise we appreciate your support and your help growing the channel.